I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of days debating whether I was going to make a video. Because I just didn't know if I was going to have the strength or the energy. But I know that it's what I need to do to make sure that the story continues to get out there, and also to make sure that everybody that is following us and that is part of our army gets updated. So it's really hard to make this video. And I'm not convinced that it's not going to get even harder. And when that's going to happen, I don't know if it does. But this one's hard enough. And I haven't really been sure how to start it, you know? Like, how do you... It's just been a whirlwind of a week. I guess I'll start from the beginning. I guess it's all I can do. So, Saturday night. It's past Saturday night. Today is Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. So, Saturday night, went to bed. Everything was fine. No big deal. Same old, same old. I mean, he was swollen and, seeping fluid and everything else. Saturday they had come out and drained his Plex catheter because we had planned Sunday to go to a cancer event and butterfly release. So we wanted to make sure that he was feeling okay to go. So Saturday night, everything's okay. Sunday morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, he's up, he eats a banana, he goes back to bed. 8:30 in the morning, he wakes up and he's freezing. He's shivering, it's cold, and he's soaking wet. So, which really isn't too out of the normal because he's been seeping fluid, so he's been kind of soaking things. But it was actually a lot more than usual, so he's like, you got to check my valve. So I checked the valve, or the catheter, and the bandages were off. Okay, no big deal. That kind of stuff happens all the time. But I didn't have any of the equipment or the supplies to put back on it. So I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do because they wanted it covered. So I ended up calling the home nurse to come out because I needed supplies. So they were going to gather supplies, bring them out for me so that I could take care of this and make sure I get covered. In the meantime, he's still shivering. He's still cold, even after being cleaned up. And he's really complaining of his right foot being so cold. So we're covering it up. We're trying to warm it up, or at least enough that, blankets, just doing what we can to warm it up so that he feels better and nothing's working. And he's just cold. I take his temperature. On our thermometer, it was normal. So, the nurse comes out and brings the supplies. And this is about 2 hours later. The nurse comes out and brings supplies, and she said, he feels hot. She says, I don't really like that. Maybe you should send him, he might need to go get checked out. And with the chills and feeling hot, she said, I'm afraid of infection. And I'm like, okay. So she takes his temperature, it's normal. And we go from there, and she says, by noon, he's not feeling better. I'd run him in. I'm like, okay. She leaves, and then she comes right back, and she says, you know what? She said, I'm going to go ahead and take all his vitals just to be safe and see, make sure nothing else is going on. Blood pressure's fine. But his heart rate's really high. Like, it's like 150. And I believe it's supposed to be like, I don't know, like something from 60 to 100. It's like 150. And this is concerning her. So she calls the ambulance. And the ambulance comes and gets him, and we go in, and again, we're still dealing with the chills and everything else. And at this point in time, they think he's septic, which is basically an infection internally. But nothing gets set in stone. Well, then we're realizing there's redness to his leg that wasn't there before. So now they're treating him for an infection in his leg. So we're in the emergency room. Then they move us up to a room because, like I said, they're treating him for infection. And as the day wears on, the infection on the leg gets worse and worse and worse. Within hours, the nastiest infection I've ever seen in my life forms on his leg. It's terrible. I've never seen anything like it. I hope I never have to again. It literally, I watched it just grow and spread on his leg, on his right leg. So he had, I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me, but I can leave it in the comments after I post this. But basically, it's a very serious infection, very serious flesh-eating infection that spreads very rapidly. And unfortunately, the only way to get rid of it is high doses of antibiotics and surgery. So he went in Sunday night at 11 o'clock and had surgery on his right leg, where they basically took all the skin and tissue and infected skin and tissue on his leg from his knee down to his foot out. So at this point, he's now has gaping wounds the whole way around his leg. I have not personally seen it, nor do I want to. It has been wrapped, so I haven't had to look at it. And yeah, so since then, he has pretty much been sedated the whole time. There was a brief period, not yesterday, but the day before, so Monday, there's a brief period Monday where they had laid off the sedation and backtrack a little bit. While he was in surgery, when they were done the surgery, he coded on the table. So his heart stopped. Of course, they think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he had a lot of infection in him, and his heart rate was already high. So they don't really know why, but they brought him right back. So it was 3 minutes, I think they said, but they brought him right back. So, like I said, since then he's been pretty much sedated and intubated, and it's been an absolute whirlwind of a nightmare. In the process of all this, they're doing CAT scans, and they found that his cancer has gotten even worse, even within the last 10 days since the last CAT scan, and that he has a pretty substantial mass pushing up against his heart, along with a couple on his lungs and multiple everywhere else. But of course, the one concerning now is the one pushing up against his heart. So at this point in time, there's nothing else they can do for him for the cancer. Well, that's what they say. So, in the meantime and in between time, it's a whole bunch of whirlwind of questions and things that I haven't wanted to answer or deal with ever, my life. And, of course, it's hospice. The whole point now is get him stable, get the tubes out, send him home. The main conversation I've had over the last few days was, I can't take him home. How do you bring somebody home into a home situation that we have with gaping wounds the way he has? I don't think that I can sustain that, and I don't think that it's a safe environment for that. But of course, all this is comfort care anyway, right? At least that's the mindset. But so I've kind of fought over the last couple of days back and forth with a few people about this whole thing. And in the meantime, and in between time, I've met with the original surgeon. For the life of me, I can't remember the name. It's Salisky, so I don't know. But he is a awesome person. Very religious person, and he has taken Greg's case personally and has made a pact to make sure that whatever happens, it is to what Greg wanted, and that was to come home and be with his family, to not be stuck in the hospital. So he had suggested from the get-go that the leg be amputated. There was another team of doctors that said no, it doesn't need amputated. The surgery was successful. They contained the disease and the infection. Everything else looks good. Blood flow's good. There's really no reason why we have to amputate the leg. Except I can't bring him home like that. One, it's susceptible to infection again. I mean, he already caught one and landed in the hospital. Makes you think he's not going to catch another with gaping wounds in his leg. Two, he wouldn't be able to really get up and get around and move around. Three, he wouldn't be allowed to be around the dogs or the cat. Four, he probably wouldn't be able to be sitting outside. He'd be stuck into bed, and that's not what he wants either. So, after talking with this surgeon who said some things that were right along with the mindset and the beliefs that me and Greg had, I decided, along with his family, that we would go ahead and amputate the leg, because then there would be no wound, because they would seal it with the skin. So there wouldn't be gaping wounds. And he would have a quicker recovery. He would be in less pain. It would actually, if he would have came home with the original wound, he probably wouldn't have survived as long because of infections and everything else. And because now with the cancer, they're only giving him weeks to live. That's what they're giving him. Let me put that out there. That's what they're giving him, is weeks to live. He doesn't qualify for a whole lot. So can't do the skin grafts. Plus, that's multiple surgeries. I mean, you're talking multiple surgeries versus one. So the decision was made. Sorry, I gotta get this cat's being. Ugh. Sorry. Go, Chaz. So it would give him a better quality of life to do this surgery, was basically. It took a little bit of a fight because I had one surgeon who was doing what was right for him, but everybody else was doing what was right for the leg. This cat. Sorry. So one surgeon that was doing what was right for him, and that was where we were at. At this point in time, I do not want to see this man suffer anymore. I do not want to see him go through any of this at all. But my goal is to make him comfortable, because guys, the man is fighting like hell. You know, Monday they lowered the sedation and we could actually communicate with him. He was nodding to us, he was answering questions. He mouthed "I love you" to me, to his sister. Vitals are perfect. Blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen, everything's perfect. Even though he's on the respirator, he's on the lowest level of it, so he's pretty much breathing on his own. So, you know, all that's good. So, I mean, he's fighting like hell. He's not ready yet. And I'm sorry, but I still believe in miracles. So, at this point in time, he will be going into surgery at some point after 11 today. I will more than likely have this posted before then, so if you could just pray as hard as you can pray that it goes well. You know, my gut tells me it's going to go fine, because again, I don't think that he's ready to go anywhere yet, or anytime soon for that matter. So regardless of what they say, I haven't given up hope. I can sit and tell you that there are bigger powers at work, and I've witnessed that over the last few days more than once, in multiple occasions, and I don't believe in coincidences. So I know that this isn't over yet. This is just, it's a nightmare, and it really sucks. And I can't imagine the amounts of just pain and suffering that this poor man's going through. I mean, obviously right now he's pretty heavily medicated, so he's okay. Having this surgery today will lessen the amount of pain he will have to go through, so that's something. You still have the fact that he's going to lose his leg, but it's a leg. It's not who he is. And I know that how it all went down, he would have agreed with the same situation. The surgeon that is doing the surgery is the exact same surgeon that did his first surgery. And he's a great surgeon, great guy, and Greg loves him. So I know that this is how it's supposed to go. I don't know what the future holds. You know, I don't want to put time limits on things, and I don't think anybody should, because I think that says you're giving up. And I know that he's going to fight until he can't fight anymore. So therefore, we should too. So, as hard as all this is, and even with the amount of thoughts that go through your head, I haven't given up hope. I haven't given up hope on a miracle. I haven't given up hope on a cure. I haven't given up hope on him. Whatever God's plan is, it's God's plan. It's not mine. So I will continue to keep going and having hope and faith until God says this is the time. This is when. This is how. So that's the way I'm going to be. And that's the way everybody else should be too. So I'm asking and pleading for just sure prayers. Prayers for a miracle. Prayers for him to not suffer, and for him to be pain-free when he comes out of this. Or at least, as painless as possible. Prayers for me. Prayers for his whole family as we go through this. Yeah. So that's what's been going on. And I want to continue to thank everyone that's reached out to us and everyone that's been a part of our army so far and continues to be a part of our army and helps our army grow. Because we're about to go into battle, guys, and this one's going to be a doozy. We love you all.